So welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English, and we've been discussing houses, and we're now going to go from the 7th house to the 12th house. And as I mentioned last week, the houses are numbered anti-clockwise, starting with 1 at the 8:45 position, and the first house is the first house will always start in the same sign as the sign of your ascendant, but the whole of the house, because we use an equal house system, might not be in the whole sign. So just to explain a bit what I mean by that, so if you get up Queen Elizabeth II's chart, you'll see her ascendant starts in the sign of Capricorn, and the first third of her first house is in the sign of Capricorn, and then it goes into the sign of Aquarius. So because on equal house, each of your houses is going to be 30 degrees in size. So because there's 360 degrees and there's 12 houses, just like there's 12 signs. But unless you were born directly at the time that the signs were changing from one sign to another, your houses won't be all in the same sign. Yeah, so you'll see there's degrees marked to the the sign of the ascendant. So the Queen, because her ascendant is 21 degrees Capricorn and 23 minutes, each one of her houses is also going to be 21 degrees and 20 something minutes. So her ascendant is 21 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, remembering of course that each sign of the zodiac is 30 degrees big, so her second house starts 21 degrees into the sign of Aquarius, her third house starts 21 degrees into the sign of Pisces, and so on. So in your chart the same thing will happen. Your chart will start in a sign, and each house will start in the next sign on, but it might not be the whole of your house is in the whole of the sign. There's just no way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, there is a house system called whole sign, and it was developed by whose name? Oh gosh, the name of the chappie who talked a lot about it. I can't remember his name at the minute. It might come back to me in a minute, but he's written a fantastic book about it, Whole Sign. But that's not it's useful if you don't know the time of birth of someone, very, very useful. But we do know the time that the Queen was born. And so, as I say, so each of our houses will start in exactly the same degree, if we use an equal house system, as her ascendant starts in a degree. So in my case, that's a point. What's mine? Let me have a look. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me just go my chart. Let's just quickly go into extended chart selection. So my chart starts in the sign of Leo. My sun sign's Pisces, so those are two totally different things. So always remember in astrology that the sign that you are might not be how other people see you, because your ascendant is how others see you, not how you see yourself. It's how they view you and how you view the world. So my ascendant is 27 degrees into Leo. Remember, of course, that each sign of the zodiac can only ever be 30 degrees. This is the maths we're talking about now. So my ascendant is 27 degrees Leo, so it's right to the end. Remember, of course, it could be 30 degrees of Leo. And then my sun sign is in the 7th house. So today we are discussing 7th to the 12th. So the 7th house in astrology, which is where my sun sign is located, so I know all about the 7th house. The 7th house is about relationships. Now, I think I mentioned in I mentioned in my book, The Astrology of Lovers, which is soon to be released, that anybody that's got either a Libra ascendant or their sun in the 7th house really need to be in a relationship, and don't feel fluffy and happy until or unless they are. And I started dating, oh my goodness, I think it was about 13 when I started dating. I had this deep desire, I needed to be with someone, and it's I'm on my second marriage. I do need to be in a relationship to feel completely whole. So if your sun is located in the 7th house, because that's the section of the chart to do with relationships, then you will feel much happier and fluffier if you're in a relationship. Now your moon could be there, and that's about the emotions. So the sun is who you are and the moon is how you feel. Our Queenie, so good old Elizabeth II, she has her moon in Leo in the 7th house. So as far as relationship goes, the moon is a very fast changing planet. She might feel quite emotional about her relationships, but that's not her raison d'etre. As we discussed last week, her sun sign is in the 4th, and the 4th house is about the home and roots. So that's where she feels happiest, being with her family and at home. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah? Now, we need to remember our chart examples. Where have we got? So we've got one person's got sun in the 12th, one's got sun in the 1st. So we've discussed that was Joe's sun in the 1st. And Kay has sun in the 4th, the same as the Queen. There you go. And of our 3 volunteers, I think we've only got 2 with something in the 7th. Yes, so Kay, you have your Mars in the 7th house. So keeping in mind that the 7th house is to do with relationships and people that you have an intimate personal relationship with, and you've got Mars there, and Mars is the god of war, and he is the planet of action, aggression and energy, and you've got that in the segment of your chart to do with relationships. So you might find that you prefer to wear the trousers in the relationship, or you might just be bullshit. We'll see. And Joe, you have Saturn in the 7th house. So the Saturn is the planet of responsibility. So again, that's pretty much a male planet. You might find that you accept responsibility in relationship, or you want to have a responsible relationship. Now, the thing that confuses people the most is that, well, okay, we've got the houses, we've got planets in there. What does it all mean? Well, to have a planet in a house, so we've learned already what the planets are and what they mean, and the signs that they're in. Sticking it in a house, having a planet in a house, modifies it. So say we were to have as a cake. Okay, so to make a cake you need your ingredients. So it's not going to turn into a birthday cake until the eggs and the flour and the raisins or whatever it is are all combined. So that's the location of a planet in a house modifies it slightly and also affects the way that it operates. So for instance, as we discussed last week, Joe, I think it's right. Yeah, Joe has her sun in the 1st house, and the sun is who you are and where you're coming from. And to have your sun in the 1st house means that you are more gonna do it. Yeah, sun in the 7th, you want to do it with someone else. Right, so that's the difference there. And each house operates slightly like each sign of the zodiac. There is a similarity between the houses and the signs of the zodiac, starting from 1 going all the way to 12. But this is where you have to grasp 3 things to understand a house and what's in it. You have to grasp the planet, the sign that it's in, and its location before you can make an interpretation of it. Now, luckily, Astro.com will give you quite a bit of interpretation about houses and locations and all the rest of it. They'll be using the Placidus system, so it won't be in the same way as the equal house that I'm using. But hey, it gives you some sort of indication. Because having your sun in the 7th is the total opposite to having your sun in the 1st. People that have sun in the 7th also prefer to negotiate about things. They're not quite so, I'm not saying sun in the 1st is stroppy, but they're not quite so me orientated. They're more about others orientated. Okay. Now the 8th house, who's got something in the 8th? The Queenie has her Neptune just in the 8th. And the 8th house is about sex, birth, reincarnation and the other lives. So it's the veil to the other world. If you were to compare it to I always think of it as the devil card in the tarot. The 8th house is sex, drugs and rock and roll and all the rest of it. But it's also about death and also other people's money, because it operates a little bit like the sign Scorpio, deep and mysterious and all the rest of it. Whilst the 2nd house is your money that you earn and the stuff that you own. The 8th house is other people's money and inheritance. So I tend to, actually I've seen this quite a lot, if your sun, that who you are, is located in the 8th house, you're going to inherit. Aren't you a lucky bunny? None of our chart examples have anything in the 8th. I think all of your 8th houses are empty. Da da da. I say Queen's got Neptune in there. Neptune's the planet of psychic connection. I've got nothing in my 8th either, so there we go. But if you've got something in your 8th, it's about sex, birth, reincarnation, death, the afterlife, deep, mysterious stuff. So if you've got your sun located there, you might find that you're very secretive. And I think Linda Goodman had her sun in the 8th. Possibly, can't remember now. Probably. I'm sure that's right. She had a Leo ascendant. Yeah, she had sun in the 8th, and she was a little bit mysterious. My son and my partner and my best friend have all got sun in the 8th. So the trick to somebody with sun in the 8th is don't ask too many personal questions. Yeah. Don't ask too many personal questions. 9th house. So the 9th house is about long distance travel, further education, philosophy, and belief, the things that you believe in. So the simple interpretation of sun in the 9th house is you might just enjoy getting on planes and travelling. Travelling might just be a fun exercise for you. My mother had sun in the 9th house and converted to be a Catholic when she was 16, I think it was. People that have sun in the 9th house, my brother had it too, and he was the opposite. He hated religion, but his work became his life. He was a bibliophile and antique book dealer. So Queenie has nothing in her 9th. Nothing in her 9th. Her 9th is empty. Mine's empty. In our lovely chart examples, Kay's is empty. Galena, you've got your moon in the 9th house. So the moon is how you feel. You've got it in the sign of Taurus. So you're quite kinesthetic, like touchy-feely. And having in the 9th, you will feel emotionally more attuned when you're on that aeroplane and flying away. So the 9th house is, it's people got sun in the 9th, their sun in the 9th, not moon, but sun in the 9th, their beliefs are very important, and whatever that is, because you could believe could be anything. You could believe in a football team. 10th house is your career. So this is the highest point in the chart, where you make your money. Your 6th house is your work and your health, but the 10th is your career. Slightly different things, work and career. And the 10th house is also be seen as the ambition. It's represented also by the sign Capricorn, whereas the 9th house is represented by the sign Sagittarius. So I've got my moon in the 10th house, which is the moon is a very emotional planet, and the 10th house is your career. So I've got my emotions tuned into my career, and whatever you've got your emotions tuned into, then other people find that fluffy. So moon in the 10th house can mean that you love the world loves you, that type of thing. And some interpretations say that's a sign of future fame. Well, we'll see. Queenie has nothing in her 10th. She doesn't have a job. It's not a job, it's a life she's got. Galena, you've got your Jupiter in the 10th. So Jupiter's about beliefs, so you'll have some certain beliefs to do with your work. Who's this? Joe, you've got Pluto in your 10th house. So Pluto's about deep change, transformation, and it's in the sign of Libra, which is to do with relationships. So when it comes to work, I know you're going down the route of self-employment. That's probably the best thing, because you might have found in the past, because Pluto's, can be a bit of a duff of a planet. You might have found that in the past, people have sort of spoken behind your back, that type of stuff, and you found it a bit of a struggle. So self-employment's much, much better for you. So 10th house is your career. Sun located there, you are going to be Ms. or Mr. Ambitious. 11th house is to do with friends, altruism, charitable type of status, save the planet, anything sort of green. That's your 11th house, and it's the segment of the chart to do with groups. So whilst the 1st house is the self, the 7th house is partnerships, the 11th house is groups. So if you're into groups, possibly you might have planets in there. Queenie has her Saturn there, so she takes groups quite seriously. Well, we know, because she's the, what do they call them? Not principal, but she's the figurehead of quite a lot of different organisations and charities and goodness knows what else. I don't think I've got anything in my 11th. No, my 11th is empty. And Kay has 2 planets in her 11th, Uranus and Pluto. They're both in the sign, no, you've got Uranus in Leo and Pluto in Virgo. So your 11th house is a bit complex, really. So the 11th house is about groups, altruism, save the planet, etc. Uranus is happy there in the sign of Leo. So you might sort of swing between only wanting to be a member of a group that has some form of what's the word I want to look now? Official status. Yeah, so enjoying membership of, because it's in Leo, shiny organisations rather than undercover organisations, but you're Pluto there, so you struggle a little bit with groups. Yeah, yes, there'll be a bit of a struggle going on there. Galena, 11th house is empty. Joe, you've got Uranus in your 11th as well, so you might find you, when it comes to groups, you're a member of and then you're not a member of, so it's a very much on-off thing. Yeah, so there'll be an on-off sensation along with it's okay, you both got the same things there. Yeah. And now we come to the 12th house. Now, 1, 2, all of you girlies, you've all got something in the 12th. What's Queenie got? Queenie has 12th house empty, so we'll leave that on. I've got Uranus in my 12th house. That's the planet of freedom. So the 12th house is the things that we hide from other people. If you imagine it as your closet or the cupboard or whatever you want to call it, the stuff you're not going to show other people. You can also think of it as the house of fear, the things that you'll be most fearful of others discovering about you. This 12th house is what you're not going to show people. Joe, you have 4 planets there. Kay, you've got 1, and Galena, you've got 4 there as well. Help! So Galena's got her sun in the 12th house. People's sun in the 12th tend to be more shy. So there you are, you're a Leo and they like to get out there and do it, but you've got a Virgo ascendant which really slows you down, and sun in the 12th, so you want to be all those successful Leo type of things, but you'd prefer not to be the lead singer in the band. You'd prefer to be the agent. Actually, I don't even think you'd want to play an instrument. You've got Pluto very near to your ascendant too, so you need to be aware of or wary of overpowering others, because Pluto's a really heavy duty planet to have in the first house. Concealed in your 12th, along with your Uranus, there is fears of disempowerment. Yeah, so you might find that you are fearful of being disempowered by others. Your Mercury, your Sun, your Uranus, your Pluto are all clustered in there. So what would help you is to keep a journal. Basically, write down how you feel. Okay, you've got Jupiter in the 12th. Oh, that's a bit of a sad place for Jupiter. Jupiter's the planet of belief, and you've got it in the sign of Libra, which is quite nice. So Libra's the sign of relationships. It's only 1 degree into Libra. It's just in there. But located and snuck away in your 12th house is like the things that you believe in, or your beliefs. You're going to keep them rather very much to yourself. So you'll give everybody your ideas and your thoughts, but your beliefs are going to be very, very hidden. Not a bad thing, but that's where it is. And Joe, look at you, 4 planets again. Neptune's happy in the 12th house there, because the 12th house, if you imagine it, is a bit like the sign Pisces. Neptune's the planet that looks after Pisces. Neptune's happy in the 12th. Your Mercury, why have you got Mercury? Oh gosh, yes, because your sun sign's Sagittarius, but your Mercury's in Scorpio. You've got your thinking planet, which is Mercury, and your 2 love planets, Venus and Mars, all snuck away in the 12th. So you might find it a little bit more difficult to say or to communicate how you feel or to demonstrate it or anything, you know. So you need to be working a little bit on the love parts of your life, because they're all snuck away there in the 12th. You know, allow them a little bit of exposure every now and again. So 12th house is things that are hidden. Some people say that the 7th house is not just relationships as well, it can also be our enemies. So this sort of dual interpretation of the 7th there, but 12th house definitely is the things we hide from other people. So I hope you have enjoyed today's little trip around the houses, remembering of course that to interpret a house you need to remember that the location of a planet modifies this expression. So a planet in the first house is going to operate faster than a planet that's in the 12th. So imagine as you go round the circle, everything is getting slower, not faster. Yeah. So something that's in the 12th house is going to operate in a lot of a slower way than something that's in the first. So I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. If you want to learn astrology one-on-one with me, do get in touch, mary@maryenglish.co.uk. I teach it over 6 weeks. It's 6 steps in astrology, and I have written a book called that, which is called 6 Easy Steps in Astrology. And each lesson costs £25, so it's very cheap. You get a Word document, you get a whole hour on Skype chatting with me after you've had your lessons, and you get YouTube videos that go with it. So I hope you have a fab week, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye bye now.